Hey, y'all. Today we have a familiar face, reporter in Philadelphia, Ed Kracz from Sports Illustrated, from Eagle Maven. Ed, how are things going? How's the offseason treating you?
It's going pretty good. A little more active than I thought it would be, Matt. I wasn't sure what kind of moves Howie would make. You had so many free agents. I thought it would be, writing about this mass exodus of
Yeah.
players, and they did lose a lot. But Howie's been pretty busy too, so it's been pretty active and pretty hectic.
Yeah, I mean, and then they fake this out with the Slay, the range of emotions over, for people who subscribe to a fandom, or and then on a personal level, even if you don't like a particular team, I mean, to think about Slay being gone and what that means for his career, him trying to pick up the pieces, and then you see the 2-year deal that kind of puts him in a position where he could retire as an Eagle. Do you think this would be the end, or you think he'll try to go get another deal or try to hang on a little longer after the end of this?
Well, listen. He's 32 years old. I haven't quite seen the structure yet of the contract, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming that it's been announced as a 3-year extension. But I would think the Eagles probably have an out after maybe this year or after the second year, and then we'll see where Slay is. He's definitely here for this year, and then probably for next year when he's 33. So I mean, we'll see how he as he ages, how well he can
That's right.
play. I mean, he tailed off a little bit last year, I think, at the end of the year, and then kind of picked it back up again in the playoffs. So hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, and he'll be okay. He even admitted, Matt, that it's been a long year. He even said that in the locker room. It's been a long year, man. 17 games is too many. But, so we'll see how his body adjusts and how he can hold up over the, next year or two.
I mean, and this is, I feel like in a lot of especially on social media, which is what it's designed for, is to kind of be irrational and kind of reactionary and to the moment. But I mean, the guy is in a passing league, taking on people's number one threats and having to try to neutralize them. And so that's what he's being assessed against. People are asking whether he is at the the absolute top of the mountain in terms of coverage. There's no question about whether he could be a great number two, or I mean, in this city he's still a great number one for the Eagles to have. When people are discussing 2-3 years down the line, is he still going to be able to match up against a Justin Jefferson or whoever the heck the league has been able to churn out there and throw out there against a Darius Slay at 34 years old? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And he's got his shotgun mate now, right? He's got James Bradbury riding shotgun with him for the next couple of years too. So
I'm shocked at that one.
yeah.
I don't know how they pulled that off. We were talking about this in like November, December. We were like, we love Bradbury, but he's probably gone, and he's back. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, I think a lot of that was tied to CJ Gardner Johnson. The Eagles
That's right.
wanted Gardner Johnson back, and there's just only so much money to go around. And
That's right.
When Gardner Johnson turned down the deal, I think that sort of opened the door for Bradbury and said, "Hey, well, we'll give you this money." And it was competitive to what other teams were offering. He liked it in Philly. So Bradbury's like, "Yeah, you don't have to ask me twice." Maybe Gardner Johnson misread the situation and turned down what the Eagles were offering. And Bradbury was happy to take what it was. And that's why Bradbury's here, and probably why CJ's not.
I was when it all went down, my wife was like, "This one's got under your skin, right?" I was, yeah, but the CJ Gardner Johnson exit. But I'm like, yeah, obviously he's an Eagles fan, but also the math isn't mathing for me. Like, for him to, I feel like he did himself a grave disservice because he plays he's a hybrid. He's a corner. He's a slot corner who can play, deep coverage. But you're if you're playing safety, you're going to be in the box. You're going to be potentially running into guys like the guy out in Chubb out of Cleveland, or you've got Derrick Henry. You're going to have to go head up with those guys, and he didn't go to another team and get himself some long-term stability. I mean, he's on a 1-year deal. I don't understand how that was allowed to happen to him.
Yeah, it's a mystery, to be honest, because Gardner Johnson is 25, and wouldn't you rather have a 25-year-old, like you said, the versatility to play slot, play the safety, versus even a 30-year-old James Bradbury, who's still 5 years older than CJ. There must have been some other factors in there. I know, the maturity issue. I talked to CJ at the Super Bowl, and he talked about maturing when he came here, and Denard Wilson
That's right.
Talked about having a sit down with him as soon as he arrived and saying, look, you're going to have to learn to play team football, and it's not about you and your numbers. It's about doing what's best for the team. And it took Gardner Johnson about a month to buy into it, and then he really took off. He didn't have any of those 6 interceptions in the first, I think, 4 weeks that he was here.
Nope.
But then he bought in, and now, Denard Wilson's not here. Marcus Epps was a huge part of helping
absolutely
Gardner Johnson develop. Those two were pretty good friends, and I talked to both of those guys about their relationship while I was at the Super Bowl, and he's not here. So, maybe some of those support pieces that were here for him that aren't no longer here could have factored into it, because there's something really strange about how that all went down. Now, maybe CJ was pretty aggressive in what he was asking for, and the Eagles weren't close to it, and they thought, well, if you're going to draw that kind of line in the sand, we're not going anywhere near that.
Yes.
And they just simply moved on, and maybe Gardner Johnson just misread the situation and his agency.
I think so. And
that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of a shame. And the thing is it's going to be hard to get answers on that, because CJ just doesn't talk to the media very much. He was only talking to me at the Super Bowl because he had to. That's the way it is at the Super Bowl. But he doesn't talk in the locker room very much, always declining a request to ask a few questions of him. So I don't know. And then there was a few things that I saw in the locker room with him and some teammates that, may not have gone over well.
Okay.
So I don't know. There's a couple other things I think the Eagles were a little concerned about.
Okay.
Not necessarily on the field, but off the field.
Well, I mean, something clearly, without even having to divulge anything here, clearly, like you said, there must have been a line drawn in the sand, and they were like, okay, well, we're done here. Because it's a shame for him, because, you'd hate, he's a good player. He's a fun player to watch, and you would hate to see him. I don't want it to happen, but you would hate to see him go out now at 25 years old, playing on a 1-year deal. Something bad happens, and then he never gets the chance to make his money. I don't know how we've arrived at March, almost April of 2023, and this guy is playing on a 1-year deal after leading the league in picks
for $6.5 million. For really, I thought this was a $15 million a year player, $14 million a year player. So maybe I misread the situation too, because he certainly has the talent, and age is on his side. So it's
I hope it goes well for him.
Yeah,
I hope it does, because this is this is when this is people's real livelihoods, and these athletes only get a few years to make the money that they're going to make for a lifetime. And so this has been I've said my piece here on this one, but Lane Johnson restructured his deal, left the Eagles with another $10 million or so, and looking like he's gonna retire in Philly, is what he said.
Yeah, whenever that might be. He'll be 33 in May. He's had some injury issues the last couple of years, but he's tough as nails, and he's still playing at a high level. So it's a big monster deal that he's getting $30 million put into his bank account whenever that day comes. Big, nice chunk of change. I'd love to have that. I'd love to have a quarter of that.
That's right.
But
1%, Lane, if you're listening, just
sure. Is that asking for much? I covered you when you came into the league, old buddy. But but he's he'll be around for probably, he's one of those start with the Eagles, retire with the Eagles, kind of like Kelsey will probably be, Brandon Graham will be. I don't know about Fletcher Cox, but for sure those three. So yeah, it saves the Eagles some money under the cap. I think they were 13 million under the cap coming in before that, saved 10 million, 23. Where they choose to spend it. I mean, they've done a good job, I think, in the safety market by adding Terrell Edmonds,
Yep.
plenty of experience, 5-year starter in Pittsburgh, former first-round pick, only 26 or 7 years old.
I see him as the placeholder he's like the new Epps is how reading the tea leaves there. I think he's like that Epps piece, but I think there's still another piece
that needs to come. Well, they signed Justin Evans. I don't know if he'll make the team.
No.
Yeah. No. You're already staying. You haven't even seen him put on an Eagles uniform.
All respect, Justin.
Yeah, I know. It seems, who knows? I mean, they've tried, Jaquaski Tart came late last year. He didn't make it. Andrew Adams came a couple years ago. He didn't make the roster. So, maybe he's one of those, or maybe he's a surprise.
That'd be great. I would love it, but
what it's done, Matt, is it's put the Eagles in a position where they don't have to go out and draft Brian Branch in the first round of the draft, or one of these top safety prospects. Because now they have a little bit of depth after losing Epps and Gardner Johnson. How good is that depth? I don't know. You're not sold. No. I know who you like. So you may as well throw that out there. I know the guy from
Tennessee. Like the Byard. Yeah, I think it's a great fit. And then we already fleeced them for AJ Brown last year. Well, just go ahead and just do it again, Tennessee.
Yeah, they have a new GM too, so maybe it won't be as easy to fleece. But you could try. But listen, Byard costs a lot of money, so you're going to have to redo probably
14 mil. Yeah,
that's a lot. And I know they just, they got some money now, but you have to. I think a lot of that's going to go to Jalen Hurts. I think negotiations to extend Hurts are probably going to pick up now, and maybe before the draft we see an extension in place for Jalen Hurts because of this newfound money that they found between the cushions of the couch with Lane Johnson. I think that will help them. So you got to think about that before you think about Byard. I hate to, and maybe they'll think about Byard. Maybe, I don't want to, rain on your parade.
No, I know. I get it though. I mean, Howie's always playing for 2 years from now. He's not playing. He's trying to win this Super Bowl, but the number one thing for him is to remain competitive for the foreseeable future. That's how he runs this organization.
Yep.
Respect it.
So we'll see. We'll see where that money goes. I'm going to earmark it for Jalen Hurts and whatever extension he's going to get, because that's going to get done, and it needs to get done.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, you bring it up. I mean, what do you think that is Jalen kind of on standby saying like, hey guys, go make the moves you want to make and then come back to me, and is that what's going on in your eyes? Or
I would say so. Yeah, I think Jalen wants to win a Super Bowl too, just like everybody else, and he knows that he can't do it alone, that he's going to need help, and he knows that's going to take money, and he's going to get what he wants or deserves. And I don't think he'll take some kind of discount that people think he might. And I don't think he should. I mean, he's a 24-year-old, top flight quarterback now, and he deserves to be paid like one. So the Eagles have that money now, and I expect them to use it on the Jalen Hurts contract. Whatever that looks like, I couldn't even tell you. Maybe 4 or 5 years, $50 million a year, $45 million a year. I mean, Daniel Jones got 40 in New York, and Hurts is better. Hurts has been to the Super Bowl. Yeah, so that's where that money's going, and as well it should.
I mean, it's just crazy that. I mean, Giants, just keep it up. You guys, I mean, they made a great move with their coach, which, I mean, he did a great job last year.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the doubling down on Daniel Jones. It's just really.
Well, I don't know what are your options. What are your options? I mean, you have to look. I mean, if you get rid of Jones, then what? Then do you have to throw your hat in the ring for one of these quarterbacks that who knows how good they're going to be in the NFL? Will Levis, Bryce Young, CJ. You don't know. Are you going to try to trade for Aaron Rodgers? Are you going to try to sign Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, there were some options.
Lamar?
Lamar possibly. I mean, that's a weird situation, but
it really is.
Yeah, I don't understand that even a little bit. I'm just glad he's not with the Eagles, that I have to write about it every day. But listen, maybe they're just comfortable in knowing that, hey, he's our guy. Dayball's getting what he can out of him. Their OC, Mike Kafka, who they hung on to in the hiring process to get a head coaching job, they've helped him. There's no question. They've tailored things around what he does well, and he's taken to it. So, yeah, maybe he takes another step this year. I don't know.
You're going to have to take a
big step.
Yeah.
I know. Giant step. No pun intended.
I mean, he's fine. Now Daniel Jones is in the realm of, like, I don't want to say good quarterbacks yet, but he's in that, he's at starter level. Daniel Jones is a starter level quarterback. But now if the bar is now Daniel Jones, starting level quarterbacks are making $40 million, I mean, that's going to wreak havoc on people's salary cap.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's contract screwed up everything for the quarterback situation. Screwed up Lamar Jackson. Nobody's going to pay these quarterbacks what Watson's making. They might be able to get close, but yeah, not going to happen.
Lamar just might want to say, look, I understand. I'm not going to try to. I think you're exactly right. I mean, I think the team owners are saying, look, we're not going to. That was a bad move by them. We don't want to set the precedent that that's what they do. I think Lamar, since he is representing himself, and maybe somebody passed this along to him, go and try to take a 2-year, like $60 million, $80 million, because the Ravens are just saying we don't want to tie too much money up in you and then be on the hook for forever. Go test out the market for a couple of years, Lamar, at 43, 44, 45 million, and then be back out there, rebid yourself in a couple of years, get yourself some stability. But the Ravens don't want you for that long term. That's fine. You both can part in 2 years, but don't. What's been going on now is the way that it's looking like they might not start the season. We're a long way away, but the Ravens look like they're kind of like, okay, come back if you want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's the situation. Like I said, I'm glad I don't have to follow it all that closely. The Eagles have their quarterback, but Lamar Jackson has gotten hurt the last couple of years. That's another thing he has to prove. But listen, so is Hurts. Hurts not as severely. He's only missed 4 games, 2 in the last 2 years. But it's a concern. Late in the year, something happens to him, and he's got to prove that too. And we'll see how the Eagles. I mean, I don't like the style he plays too much. I mean, I know he's very strong and he can pick up first downs with his legs and keep plays alive, and you get hurt probably more in the pocket than when you're out running. But still, it's a scary way to make a living and to stay healthy for now. Like we said earlier, Slay thinks 17 games is too long. Now you got to stay healthy for 17 games. That's hard to do. So
if you make it to a Super Bowl, you played 20 games.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Exactly.
It's a long time. I mean, 5 years, it's 100 games. Whew. That math just that's crazy.
It takes its wear and tear, no matter how many pounds you can squat, like Hurts with that 600 plus squat of his. You can
so speaking of that,
yeah.
Speaking of that, it doesn't look like they're going to get rid of the QB sneak rule. Do you think that it's survived for 1 year, or you think that this conversation is over?
Well, I'm surprised that it's not on the table to be looked at after all the big fuss and commotion about it. I think it might be here to stay. Again, we'll see. Every year brings different things, and the Eagles took advantage of being able to do that last year. I fully expect they won't be the only team to do that this year. I think you'll see. That's right. Sean Payton said he's going to do it with Russell Wilson in Denver. There's going to be other teams that are going to do it. And if it becomes, too, non-football looking play like Dean Blandino
rugby
it is, yeah. I mean, then maybe they'll take another look at it because other teams are going to do it. Now we'll see how successful they are. The Eagles were good at it.
That's right.
But you had Hurts with a 600-pound squat. You had an offensive line that, could create that little bit of space that he needed. And can all teams do that? I think we're going to find out. And if the NFL thinks that too many are doing it and it doesn't look pretty, then yeah, they might revisit it.
But guys, yeah, it's not pretty, and it's for the people who love to play Madden and design plays. Like, of course, like it's not exciting to be at midfield and on a 4th and 1. But let's not get ahead of. For the people who talk about this, it's not like the Eagles are coming out first and 10 and doing this for, 2 yards. No, this is like 3 or 4 times a game. And it's like, stop it. It's like when NCAA they banned the dunking back in the day with Kareem. It's like,
right.
It's silly. It's like, why are we doing this?
That's a good analogy. I like that analogy. But it was cool though, wasn't it, to see some of the other plays that the Eagles ran off of that? I mean, faking the sneak, and then they pitch it to, whatever running back's out there, and boom, 15 yards down the field because everybody's pinched in tight to try to stop the sneak. That was fun, right? That was neat to see.
I was expecting to see some of that in the Super Bowl, but I guess maybe the rough footing might have played into that.
That's true. Yeah, the footing was pretty slippery. So, but I don't. Well, they screwed up. Those Siamalu had that penalty right before the fumble that went for a touchdown. They were trying to sneak it on 3rd and 1, motion on Siamalu, and 5 yards backed them up. And then the next play, they're trying to pass for the first down on 3rd and 6, and Hurts drops the ball, and boom, big touchdown. So. Yeah,
Big Jurgens in there at right guard now.
I know. I don't want to relive that, but Big Jurgens will be in there at right guard, I guess. Cam Jurgens, yeah, he'll be.
You think he's ready?
Yeah, sure. I think he's ready. Why not? He's got Jeff Stoutland University. He's matriculating at Stoutland University. So
he'll get Ed Kracz and Matt Rogers ready if you give him 6 months.
That's right, man. Just surface those blocks, move to the next level. Use our athleticism, and my knees are pretty creaky, Matt. I don't know how yours are. I'm not sure I can
not make great either.
Second level. I'm a good crab blocker on a nose tackle, though. I used to do that in high school when I played center. I used to snap and crab block away a nose tackle. So
I used to do the block and release. I used to be good at that. I used to just chip off for a second.
That's athletic, dude. You're showing your athleticism there.
A little something, not overwhelming at all. Clearly, I'm on this side of the microphone.
Yeah, yeah. We're not in too many locker rooms putting uniforms on anymore. That's for sure.
No. But so we got Rashad Penny. You think that means that Gainwell's going to be the lead back? We know what lead back means in Philly, but with that in mind, do you think that means that Penny's going to be the lead back, or that Gainwell's going to be the lead back and have Penny as the pounder?
Listen, I don't think either of them can be a lead back. I'm not sure the lead back is on this roster yet. He might come in the draft. Penny has to prove he can stay healthy. So you're not going to want to give him. And listen, Nick Sirianni loves the committee approach. So he's going to use whatever running backs he has, and maybe that will be to the benefit of Penny. He won't have to carry it 15 times a game, to try to get him through all 17 games. But he's certainly built like a pounder. He's a between the tackles guy. He's the kind of runner, in my opinion, that the Eagles like, is that north-south, get the ball and get upfield. Don't, try to float it to the edge and, try to outrace a linebacker for a 1-yard loss or a 1-yard gain. Penny's the kind of guy that will slam it up in there. And maybe that's why he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's still got great speed. If he can get through that initial, line of scrimmage, this offensive line, it's really kind of fascinating to think about that. If he can get through that first wave at the line, look out, because he's got some burners, man, and he can put some moves on you once he gets into the second level and then beyond. So,
he's carrying a lot of weight behind those shoulder pads too.
That's right. It's a lot of these 20 pounds.
They're not going to want to tackle him in the one-on-one. He's gonna bruise some guys,
and especially late in games when the Eagles like to get a lead by passing and then try to run to wear the clock and wear the other team out. If Penny's fresh in the fourth quarter and you're trying to protect a 7-point lead and you want to drain some clock, he can be very dangerous. Giving him the ball while defense might be a little bit worn out. And the Eagles love to run the ball. They're one of the top running teams in the league. So I like the signing of Penny. It's a low risk, high reward. And I think the Eagles will try to manage him. And we've seen their training camp. It's nothing, we've complained. A lot of people have complained about the training camp because it's
no problem. I'm sold. I'm cool.
Yeah,
I don't need any hitting.
No, now that we see how long this season is, the marathon that it really truly is, uh, that's a wise move by, you don't want to burn out in August.
That's right.
So,
That's
and then we
right.
see during the season, they give guys days off,
That's right.
veteran guys and guys like Penny who are, injury prone. That
That's right.
Jason Kelsey has said many times that he's still playing because of the change in the CBA rules that have made practices less physical. And that has helped him. And the Eagles, giving him a day off every week, a rest day, where he doesn't have to be on his feet for the whole practice, or he can just stand out there and watch. That's added, a couple years to Kelsey's career. So that maybe that's what the Eagles are thinking is, hey, we'll get him through 17. We'll manage him properly. And that's exciting to think about because he can certainly be a weapon on this team. And I love the signing. I thought it was a really, really good signing, under the radar, in my opinion. I wasn't even thinking about Rashad Penny as a possibility. And yet, here he is.
You said something interesting though a couple minutes ago. You said that you don't think that the team's lead back potentially is on the roster as yet. Do you think that comes potentially through trade or in the draft? One like a Bijan Robinson or somebody like that.
Yeah, I really like Bijan Robinson, but you're going to have to jump at 10 to grab him. But Kenny Gainwell's not a lead back; he's a third down back.
And a good one.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, good one. And can he transition into being more of a threat in the run game? The Eagles could give him that opportunity. He very well could be, but he's not overly big. Again, another guy you don't want to wear down and put at risk for injury. So you kind of have to manage him a little bit. And he's only got, and that's why I think maybe Bijan Robinson makes some sense. And he's a guy that you would control for 4 years. And I wrote about this. They've got some decisions to make in 2025 with AJ Brown's contract off the charts, expensive. Devontae Smith is going to need an extension. His contract runs out after 2024. Maybe they talk to him after this season about a deal. Kenny Gainwell's only got 2 years left. His contract's up after 24. So Boston Scott's on a 1-year deal. So, to me, finding a running back in the first 2 days of the draft is something that I think they should investigate. And whoever that guy is could be that so-called lead back. And then we'll see what they do with Penny. If they draft a Bijan Robinson or a north-south guy, Penny's not costing a whole lot of money. They could release him. Right. So, a lot of balls in the air here that, it's fun to keep track of. But, yeah, I think that the lead back, the so-called lead back, may not be on the roster yet.
You raise a great point because in 2025, if you look ahead, we're still calendar year 23, but when the 25 season comes, AJ Brown's making $47 million that year.
Yeah, no. Not with how he runs. I think that with the wallet.
No, exactly. That's the way that it was. That's the way that they structured the deal. Yep. But you're exactly right. Exactly right. So
and Dallas Goedert's contract is up after I think so there's a lot of decisions money wise that are going to have to be made. And you say it's 2025 is down the road, but that's how he looks at it. He's not looking at 2023 when he goes into a draft as much as he's looking at 2024, and he's looking 2-3 years down the line.
Exactly.
And we've seen that with some of his draft picks. They don't really play extended minutes right away. These guys are here to learn, and then when it's their time, like Cam Jurgens, it's his time now. Mm-hmm. They're ready to step in, and that's why it's very fascinating to me that I know they haven't taken a running back since 1986, Keith Byers, but things change, circumstances change.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is a really deep class of runners, so it doesn't have to be Bijan Robinson. You could get a Jamar Gibbs, maybe.
Yes, from Alabama. Later. I like him.
Yeah, him. There's Tank somebody from Auburn, Bigsby or something, I think his name is. Good, big.
What a name for a running back.
yeah. Sign me up for Tank, man.
Tank Bigsby. I love it.
Is that what it is? I think it's Bigsby.
I don't know, but it sounds amazing.
Tank something. But he's Auburn, so you can check that out, everybody. I mean, I'm sure
Okay.
people know more about this stuff than me because they're draft nicks, and I'm still kind of
Hmm.
polishing my draft figurines here. Um, so, but yeah, there's some good running backs available. They got the kid at UCLA, Charbonnet, and the kid down at, I think it's Tulane. I mean, there's running backs I think you can find on the second day in the second or third round if the Eagles go that route. It's and I think they will go that direction just because of what you said. You know, these are some big financial decisions coming up in the next 2 years with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith's contract's up, Kenny Gainwell's contract's up. Dallas Goddard's contract's going to run dry. You know, it's going to cost them a lot of money too in
It
24,
is.
25.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, to get somebody on the offensive side of the ball that you can control for the next, if he's a first rounder, it's 4 years. So that's why I think they possibly could go running back in the first round. I know it's a long shot, and people have come at me quite a bit on social media thinking
Yep.
that's not going to happen. But I laid it out pretty good, I think, in a story that I wrote as far as looking ahead down the road with some of these financial decisions and why a running back like Robinson could make sense in the first round.
No, I think it's right, and you also have to take into account that you've got a quarterback that you're about to pay. You know, give him a blank
Yes.
check to give him whatever. We can't afford to him to be our best running back. There were too many games last year where Jalen Hurts was our best running back.
Right. And that's not good for the long-term health. And, you know, we've seen him not play 17 games in his first 2 years as a starter. So something else you need to think about. You're right.
So you talked about, letting the guys get watch somebody really good at their position and then slot in. Do you think that that's what's going to go on with Calcaterra, and he's going to have a big, splash onto the scene, or what's going on there? Because I was disappointed with what the output at the end of the year. I thought there was always going to be an opportunity for him to make a big play or two. It just never materialized.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I know they like Jack Stoll. I know they like their tight ends to block, and go out in patterns. Calcaterra is still learning how to be a blocker. Good in the pass game, but let's face it, the Eagles, this offense, Sirianni has said many times, runs through Smith, Brown, and Goddard. That's three guys. There's only one ball. I mean, it's hard to say, okay, let's throw the ball to Grant Calcaterra 5 times a game. I mean, it's just not going to happen. They want him to be a blocker because they know he can go out and catch the ball. So they like Stoll. It's a really good tight end class coming into the NFL. I've seen people maybe mock draft a tight end to the Eagles at some point. I don't really see that. They just
That'd be a
took
reach.
I think it would. I mean, they took Goddard in 2018 when they had Zach Ertz still on the roster. But I don't think they're at the point where they need to take a tight end yet. Goddard's still very good, and they like Stoll, and I think Calcaterra in year 2. That's when rookies are supposed to step up and take that quantum leap. But is he going to be given enough opportunity to receive the ball? I just don't know that he will with Brown, Smith, and Goddard still here. I mean, you can only throw to one guy when you're throwing the ball. Calcaterra is like the 4th or 5th option down the line there. So
On a good day. Because you got Gainwell, you got Pascal was a good pass catcher. We tried to give the ball to Quez Watkins. Let's go to Quez Watkins. Is he back? You think he's back?
I think so. Yeah, I think
Okay.
he is. I mean, he's on the last year. His contract's still relatively cheap. Didn't have the kind of year when they went to him that the Eagles had hoped, and he admitted at the end of the season that he just didn't have the kind of year that he had hoped. So he's kind of refocusing and rededicating himself to being better in the next season. And if he is great, then maybe re-sign him to something, or if he's not, then see you later. Go hit the free agent market. But I think he's back.
They're going to give him a chance to keep that number 3. Okay.
I think they'll bring in somebody maybe as an undrafted free agent. There's some other guys that I know they like. I think they signed a futures contracts, but I think Quez will return and be given another opportunity, because this is what Howie wants with his draft picks. Is he wants to have them as cheap labor. And listen, he didn't have the same year he had 2 years ago when Nick Sirianni raved about him as being a number 2 type receiver. Let's see
Mhm.
if he can get back to being at least that and
Yeah.
keep him around.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the way the online chatter again is just it's not built to be rational or reasonable. But the way that people have been talking about Quez Watkins, you would have thought that he was Jalen Rager. I mean that's how bad people have been dragging this man.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, you have to allow, it's not going to be a smooth uphill climb all the time. You're going to hit your valleys, and let's see if he can dig out of it and start ascending again. You just don't give up on somebody, because they didn't do everything you asked. He's
That's
got a
right.
track record. He's got a track record. He's only making I think a couple million this year, and on a team that wants to extend Hurts, you need every penny you can have. No pun intended with
Absolutely.
Rashad Penny, but you need
Yep.
every nickel and dime you can get to,
Hmm.
and I think Quez fits into their budget, and he's not a
Absolutely.
bad
And that
advantage
speed,
stretch. Yeah,
where are you going to go and get you can't get that kind of speed just off the street. That guy is ridiculously fast.
yeah. I wish he tracked the ball like Deshaun Jackson is able to track the ball. I mean, that would have made a difference in the Super Bowl, and that's probably what a lot of people are looking at is. And then the Dallas when Gardner Minshew threw him to him a couple times and he didn't really compete well enough for the ball, leading to some interceptions. So, yeah, there's some things that you could say, okay, he did terribly. And that Super Bowl one, he had the speed and he was open, and for some reason he jumped or leaped or dove or something. He didn't make a catch he should have made. And people are looking at that like, man, we got to get better there. But again, it's not like these guys are out there trying, doing their best, and you just
That's
don't give up
right.
on somebody because he missed a few passes. It's just like hiring Jonathan Gannon. You don't not hire the
Hmm.
guy to be a head coach because his defense couldn't make a stop in the Super Bowl in the second
Hmm.
half. The guy's got a
Yeah.
track record. You go with a track record.
Yeah, I just hope that Quez can, Jalen can his infectious personality be able to pass along that level of tenacity to attack what it is about, the weak parts. If Quez Watkins can get stronger and track the ball better, watch out, because Quez Watkins is a
Yeah.
true number three threat. This offense isn't really guardable with that. A nice power, those power backs in the backfield, and then you get Quez Watkins. You can't really guard, his speed with this team the way that it's constructed.
Devontae Smith said it to me a few times. You have to pick your poison. If you're a defense, you got to pick your poison. What are you going to choose to try to stop? And then someone else is going to be able to step up and make a play. And you hope Quez can do that a little bit better in 23 than he did in 22.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where I'll end it. Ed, what are you working on now that we can look forward to and show you some support?
Yeah, probably some Jalen Hurts extension talk. What's happening with that? Interesting approach to the offseason with the Eagles. When they came out of the 2017 Super Bowl, they seemed to sign a lot of older guys as free agents to come in here. And I know they're bringing back Fletch and Graham and Kelsey as older guys this year. But, these are proven Eagles that probably deserve to be extended. Guys that you can't put a price
That's
tag
right.
on their leadership.
Mm-hmm.
But Howie, I think, learned some lessons from trying to keep that window open a little too long in
That's right.
2017, and now he's bringing in guys that are younger. Nick Warlow, their linebackers, 27. Terrell
Mm-hmm.
Edmonds, their safeties, 27.
Mm-hmm.
Rashad Penny's 26. I mean, he's bringing in younger guys and not these older Haloti Nada
Yep.
types that he brought in after the 2017 season. And Mike Wallace, the wide receiver, was in his 30s. I mean, these are guys that, he tried to do it a different way, and now he's doing it this way.
I forgot the Haloti Nada cup of tea and the Mike Wallace cup of tea in Philly. Like, I forgot about both of those
Yeah, I mean,
experiences.
they were thinking, hey, we're going to win. And then, of course, Wentz not being able to, they decided to go with him rather than Nick Foles, as they should have, but it didn't
Mm-hmm.
quite work out with him from an injury standpoint. So, I mean, that's a big factor, too, that kind of closed that window quicker than how we would have hoped. But they decided to shut that window and rebuild after that the 2020 season when they went 4-11-1. They're like, oh, we're done.
Yeah, that was the pandemic era. Yeah, it was a horrible year. Yeah.
And even after 2019, I think they realized we have to start bringing in draft picks, and they built up their draft capital. Whereas they were trading some of that away to bring in guys that after that 2017 season thinking, yeah, we can still take a run at this. We can still, find a way to get back there and win another one. It's the new norm, as Doug Peterson said, but it just didn't quite work out. So now we're trying it a different way, and we're bringing in guys in their mid to late 20s on their second contracts that they think might be able to help more than those 30.
I like it.
Not in well. So anyway, that's a long answer to a simple question. What I'm working on. So I'm kind of taking a look at that, and
Ed's doing the deep dive for y'all, folks. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, well, we can leave it at that. Yeah, sure. Deep dive. Putting the snorkel on.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, Ed, thank you so much for coming on. Of course, the people can follow me at Mention Pod, MENTION Pod, and follow Ed Kracz. It's Kracz E, and spell Kracz. It's KRAS.
No, CZ. KRACZE at Kracz E. Yeah.
Kracz E. And,
yep.
And that's also Eagle Maven on at Sports Illustrated. But thank you so much for coming on, Ed. Great time as always.
My pleasure, man. Anytime. Thanks.
Yeah.